Today's guest, lawyer, TV presenter, documentary maker and author. He is swapping the courtroom for the loose TV studio. Oh no, here to tell us all about his latest novel. Please welcome Rob Rinder.
Hello, lovely humans.
So
this
nice.
Is so nice.
I feel like we should behave when you come in, Rob.
I think that's probably why.
Yeah,
we can't. Especially me. Wow, so bad.
Rob, The Suspect. It's out paperback
tomorrow.
at this point. Yes, exactly. Sunday Times bestselling author.
I'm super proud of that. Thank you very much.
You are. But I mean, there's such a huge appetite, isn't there, for crime, murder, mysteries, and people have often said you write about what you know, so you are the perfect mix when it comes to this, Sean.
Well, this is slightly based on my life in that the hero of the book is a young barrister from North London with a mother that would break into his house to redecorate his fridge. But at the heart of it are two cases. One is a daytime TV show who's murdered live on air, and it looks like an open and shut case. But is it the chef? You know, sometimes when people are really guilty and it looks like the evidence is overwhelming, perhaps they're not. But there's also a subplot in the book, a counterpoint, if you like, which is based on a real case that I did involving a young kid who was accused of something really bad. But he actually did the crime. The question was he under duress or not, and what happened at the end. So it's got murder and suspense, but also we lift the lid on the velvet drainpipe of what it's like to be a barrister in real life. And so many people imagine themselves standing in Court 1 at the Old Bailey. You get to do that behind the curtain, if you like, and in the courtroom while solving the crime at the same time. So I'm proud of the work.
But you're not just a barrister, let's face it, you're also a TV host and personality extraordinaire, Sunday Times best-selling author, etc., etc., etc. And the crime in this book is this breakfast television host who's murdered, as you say, live on air. I wondered if that was inspired by any feelings you've ever had in your own life.
No feelings. You know, and by the way, you know,
Susanna in jeopardy.
Yeah, I think Susanna is safe. Susanna, wherever you are, you're fine. No, I'm not really, although I do talk a little bit about TV executives and the difference between having had a career in the law and going, as it were, into the lofty offices of people who make decisions about whether they should be on television.
So are they the ones that make you feel murderous?
Not really. I mean, there is a line in the book. I wasn't referring to anyone in particular, but I do say, and I suspect this is your experience as well, there is way more sociopathy of people in the executive branches of television than anybody I sat opposite at Belmarsh.
And could you understand, when they talk to you, when TV executives talk to you, could you understand what they were saying?
No, it's all rubbish.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, you go in with a really noble idea for a documentary and it might have taken sort of hours of thought and you really want to do something to change the world. And it comes in and everybody's deadly excited, and by the time it's gone around the room, it comes out as topless darts.
Exactly.
But speaking of changing the world, the other sub-story in this book is about the injustice of the legal system, if you will, and how, you know, it's very much dependent on what social class you're in, whether you're going to receive justice or not.
Thanks for spotting that, how imperfect it is and how that's getting a great deal worse in our country as legal aid is disappearing.
I was going to say, we were talking earlier about women in prison and whether, in fact, the best solution would be to close down all women's prisons and offer them education and rehabilitation in the community. Do you think that women receive sentences that, you know, given that the vast majority of women in prisons haven't committed a violent crime, do you think the sentences are too harsh and inappropriate? Well,
it depends, but I'm going to give you a quick answer. There are some women, some of whom I've represented in murder and terrorist cases. There's no debate here, I respect, anywhere at home, thinking they should, of course, be in prison. That's agreed. But, you know, people have really strong views about prison and criminals until they get the gift, just as Princess Kate did yesterday, to go and be in one. And every occasion they've had that opportunity, that chance, they forever change their mind. You know, the thing is that madness, right, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. I made a documentary last year looking at 100 years of how women were treated given short-term sentences. And we've been doing exactly the same thing.
Do you think there's gender bias when
To a
it comes
degree,
to prison terms?
to a degree, women are sentenced slightly harsher for dishonesty offences, to be sure. But that isn't really the issue. What we have to ask ourselves is, what's the point of prison? Yes, it's to punish, and I think it was you, Christine, that made the point that there are victims out there. When it's your house that might have been burgled, when you've been the victim, of course you want to see somebody punished. But I suspect what you want more is somebody who might be, or is likely to have been the victim of domestic violence, almost certainly is unable to read, in many cases is neurodivergent, and in most cases might be addicted to alcohol or drugs. What sort of thing do you want? Do you want to send them to prison over and over again, or do you want to make it safer for your neighbourhoods and them, and above all else, let's say, cheaper for the community, for them to come out, be good mothers, good members of our community? And what does it say about us as a society to give them another chance?
How would we do that?
Well, there are many, many ways. The answer is, it's a really unpopular thing to say. It's really hard to make the case. Same as it's hard to make the case for why lawyers should be paid properly. It's the price of the democracy, right? It's the price of the democracy and the freedom that we all hold sacred. So it means education in prison costs a little bit of money. It means education and making sure that there are real programmes to treat addiction. It costs money up front, but of course it's cheaper in the long run.
Yeah.
And there's also a way, by the way, of punishing people at the same time. So you could be forced, let's say, to take part in those education programmes. And restorative justice as well. But there's also curfew orders as well.
Yeah.
So there's a range of different things that can be done. And when you leave, you also have to be housed. You know, otherwise...
But don't you think
you
there's
end up
also
in a
an issue,
revolving
just going
door.
back to what Janet was saying, this idea that women are penalised more for dishonesty cases, which is how you put it. That actually has a bigger impact on society, a more detrimental impact on society, because, as Janet was saying earlier, you know, you've got generations of children then impacted by a woman being incarcerated. So
well, I don't know the numbers on it, and I always make sure that I'm, you know, if I'm going to talk about the law, I've got a really confident sense on the facts. But let me be clear, there are directions to judges where there's somebody who's either expecting a child or is a mother, that prison should be used sparingly. And increasingly what happens is that there are suspended sentences. Now, yes, there are women in prison, but even when there are suspended sentences, right, unless there is investment, right, up front,
I agree.
in the entire system. And by the way, that also applies to men.
Of course.
We are doing the same thing over and over again. We've got a revolving door of people that come out, they try their best for a little bit, they go back to drugs, they go back to the gangs, they come out into our streets and they're more dangerous. And the thing is, it's our neighbours and our community that suffers. And everybody, if you're at home thinking, no, throw away the key, all I invite you to do is go into prison, go and meet a prisoner, and you'll be forever changed. And the book deals a little bit with that, but also it deals with, you know, why people are interested in crime and murder in the first place.
Huge appetite,
right,
isn't
and
there?
solving and puzzling and putting all of those pieces
And you're
together.
you're the perfect guy to do both.
Rob, as I say, the book, The Suspect, it is out, paperback.
Tomorrow, paperback.
Yes, it is out there. Before we go on, I can understand why you so enjoy doing the programme with Rylan, because it's such a world away from everything we've just talked about, isn't it? It's just,
Oh,
it's
look,
a
we'd
fun
all like to
thing.
be there.
I'm so
Yeah.
jealous.
Oh, no, I'm... you know,
It's coming back, isn't
it is. We've been in India together. I am in, just to be clear, everybody, platonic love with him. I love you, Rylan.
Oh, yes.
But everything that I think we talk about here, because it's all about authenticity. You know, he's one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. But so often, you know, so much of what you talk about...
I thought you thought that about me.
Yeah, but everyone knows that.
I'm just sitting here
I know,
silently weeping.
But, love, you've had 50 years to show your intelligence. I mean,
I'm only joking.
But
I love Rylan.
But one of the things you've talked about is that, you know, when you first came into the room years ago, because you sounded a certain way...
Yeah, people were horrible.
Right, they'd have that view, assumptions
We've all
about
had
you.
to change our accents. I know you might have had to change yours.
This is total artifice. I sound like I've been mugged by a Mitford. But when I was 3 years old, I ran around the corner from Amy Winehouse. Nobody sounded like me.
How did you sound?
You're right, everybody. Welcome to Loose Women. That's and being with Rylan, you know, it reminds us all that there's no such thing as staying in a lane. He got to enjoy opera and art, and he taught me to enjoy the fun of, above all else, being
I'm wondering
and
now
dancing
if
on
it
a
is
bar.
as platonic as you say.
No, it isn't.
It is.
It is. It absolutely is. The best sorts of friendship, and that's why I'd never sell out a friend.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
She would.
Well,
How much
Rob,
would it cost you?
20 quid.
thank you, Rob, for
Oh,
that.
no, we can't do it now.
Oh,
We've got to
okay,
cut
never
the
mind.
book and
Rob,
move
thank you
on
for that.
now.
We're talking.
The Suspect out tomorrow. Please buy it.